What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Third Tim Podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Nguyen. Well, sort of host for today. Happy Tuesday. Almost said Wednesday. Almost too far ahead of myself. But happy trade deadline day. The deadline is over in Major League Baseball. Now, you're probably thinking, why are we talking about baseball today? Well, because football is kind of dead and football doesn't technically start till Thursday because of preseason. So, me and Brian will be here on Thursday to talk football and yada, yada, yada. But today will be all about baseball. And once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Brian Germinaro. Brian, what's up, my guy? How you doing?
I'm doing good. You yourself?
I'm good. This is a big day for you,
It's a huge
Brian.
day for me. I haven't
Huge-
hosted a show since I left college, so
There
let's see
you
if I still
go.
got it in me.
I'm sure you do, my brother. I hope you have fun with it today. I have some other circumstances that I have to get to, but Brian will take you the rest of the way. He'll be joined by our special guest, which he will introduce actually in just a bit. So I hope you guys have fun. Thank you for tuning in and just enjoy the talk because these guys have a lot to discuss in regards to the MLB trade deadline. And all I gotta say is real quick, my A's, screw you guys, trading away another pitcher that I liked. Two of them actually. So screw you. I don't like you, John
Mr.
Fisher.
Blackburn is mine now, so
Oh, screw you. Go away.
yeah.
Enjoy him. Enjoy him
Oh, I
while he
will.
lasts. Well, thank you, Brian. And thank you to our special guest in the background who'll be joining you guys in just a bit. And I'll see you guys on Thursday. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're gonna welcome on now our special guest Eric Katz. Let's see how I can do that. Hold on. There we go. What's up, Eric? How we doing?
Good. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Glad you're here. So I want to get your just initial thoughts about the deadline. What you like, what didn't you like? Just what when you're watching this afternoon, what were you thinking?
Well, it's you just never know what can happen. I mean, I've been following this for a really long time, and there's always something unexpected happens. Like someone will come out of nowhere and swing a move, like for example, the Cubs did with Isaac Paredes, which
Yeah.
the Cubs keep a pretty tight lid over there, and nothing really,
Mhm.
unlike in Queens and
Yeah.
Boston, not a lot leaks out of there.
No, not a lot at all. Not
Right.
a lot at all. Which like. So you don't have any like leaks in your locker room. Nothing to get out. Not going to be able to have other teams know what you're doing. So kind of gives you a little advantage over everybody else.
Well, sometimes you can't help it though because it's a big market.
Yeah.
You got whether it's the Yankees or the Mets, that place is surrounded by the media.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the nature of being in New York City.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. The media here is absolutely insane. Speaking of your Yanks, you are a Yankee fan. What you think of the Chisholm trade and everything in general with the Yankees this deadline?
Actually, I originally off the bat I didn't like the Jazz trade because
Really?
Jazz is off the bat just because knowing what his reputation and knowing
Hmm.
how injured he's been.
Yes.
I'm not saying some of them are freak accidents, which happens, and it's just a part of the game. But knowing him, I was just like, well, what exactly? He's an outfielder. Where exactly are you going to put him? The guy's was a dump of a shortstop when they had him over there.
Hmm.
But Yankees seem to find a spot for him at third base, and he seems to be doing okay over there. Which actually playing going from shortstop to third isn't as hard as you might think. It's just the angle changes slightly, but you
Yeah.
know you don't have to react as much.
No, no, you don't. Yeah, it's not. It's a hot corner, but like you don't have to command like you do at shortstop. What do you think of the Yankees not getting a frontline starter and then not getting someone that not getting another bat that might be able to protect Judge in the lineup?
Well, they kind of did that though. If you think
Yeah.
about it with Jazz, where if you put
Hmm.
him on, he's a liable to steal. He was playing in a hitter's graveyard in Miami, so he's got some power,
True.
and it's just a I thought the Yankees kind of did that already. Plus, they already have Soto. Stanton's coming back. As long as Stanton stays healthy, he's proven he can do that job. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. That's been
Hmm.
that's been his biggest been his modus operandi.
Yeah.
Um, but I wouldn't put what I'm seeing from Jazz so far is he's off to a fantastic start. And so, I can't say I'm really complaining about it. You get yourself a reliever in Mark Leiter Jr., who's an absolute strikeout machine, which is what the Yankees desperately needed out of their bullpen. I mean, it's been a solid bullpen. Granted, you know as well as I do, you're gonna have months where your bullpen is just nails. But then you're gonna have months where you can't get anybody out. It's baseball. I mean,
yeah.
Yankee and Mets fans kind of run similar to each other, where every loss is the end of the world.
Yeah, every loss we're telling everyone to be fired, and every win we're going to the World Series. It can never just be like, all right, everything is normal here. It's either one extreme or the other.
Well, I hope you grabbed your New York Post. I hope you grabbed your Post in the morning.
Always grab my Post. Always grab the New York Post. It's the one nerdy thing I do.
With your hot dog by the little stand in Times Square.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's just go to the deadline in general. Pretty much a seller's deadline, market kind of crazy. What deal do you think set off the market like that? Like for me, it's the Kikuchi trade. It's such an overpayment, and I think that caused the market to kind of go crazy. That's why I saw Trevor Rogers going for as much as he did, kind of slow throughout the day. What do you say to the kind of the overpayments we saw today?
I thought it was absurd with some of them. I mean,
yeah.
Kikuchi, he's not a star by any stretch of the imagination. Good pitcher. I'm not saying he's terrible.
He's a good pitcher.
I'm not saying he's terrible, but I'm saying he's not worth what Houston gave up for him. And because he's very streaky. Like he'll have stretches where he's unhittable, but then he'll have moments where the guy can't get anybody out.
Yeah.
He's had those as of late before leaving Toronto.
Yeah, for Kikuchi, for me, it's kind of like going to Applebee's and paying like $500. It's like, no, you pay, like 20, you pay a certain amount. You don't pay, top line starter type value for a pitcher like that.
He wasn't even the best starter in his rotation. He never has been. He's been that middle of the rotation guy, which nothing wrong with those guys. You need a strong 1 through 5 to survive in this league.
Yeah.
And it's not, he was never, he's never had to be that guy. I mean, they've had guys in there who have done that for him, which he's never been the best starter in that rotation. And I thought what Houston paid for him, which was their probably arguably, especially that one first baseman, Joey Loperito, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That was a guy they were high on. He had been spending time at first base because of the struggles of Jose Abreu, who fell off a ledge after he left Chicago.
He really did.
Although you can argue that was the one good thing Chicago did was let him go.
Yeah, get your wins you can get with Chicago. They're not. I mean, they're challenging the 62 Mets for the most losses of all time. That's when things are bad, when you're in that conversation.
Well, it's going to be a lot more magnified now because at the time when the Mets were doing that, they were an expansion franchise.
Yeah, exactly. They were lovable losers.
So, it's an expansion franchise. So that's in defense of the Mets, which can't believe I'm saying that. That's a little that's a little unfair. But the White Sox have been around for a long, long time.
Yeah, over 100 years now, I want to say, right? Because they were early 1900s at least.
Yes, and 1900s, and I think 1903 to be exact. You fall off the ledge like that. I mean, especially in the age of social media, you won't have you might as well just stay off the internet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be plasterized like no tomorrow.
Yeah, let's stick with the White Sox there. Big talk about going to the deadline. Guys like Crochet, Feedy, Paul DeYoung, all guys they're potentially going to move on from. Hold on to Crochet. He's got all the stuff about his innings. Not want to pitch in October. What do you think of the White Sox deadline and then the Crochet stuff as well?
Well, I thought they didn't get enough for what they gave up.
Mm-hmm.
They only came away with 3 prospects in that trade. You should have been able to squeeze out as much as you can for Eric Feedy, who you got for value, and he gave you all that he had this year. And so, when that happened, you you put those two things, you weigh those two things together, and you're just not going to. It's why the Sox are in the position they're in, is for decision making like that. As far as Crochet goes, man, if I'm Chris Getz right now, I'd be livid, because here I am trying to rebuild my team, cash out everybody I can, and I got a pitcher who just became a starter, no less, thinking that all of a sudden he's Roger Clemens, and wants a 4-year extension wherever he goes. Which, mind you, the guy this is the first healthy year he's had, and he's been mostly a reliever. And he goes ahead, him and his representatives decide to say, "Oh, I'm not going to pitch unless you give me a 4-year contract." The hell is that? You do not have that kind of leverage. And now you put your other team in a bad spot. Which, if I'm Chris Getz right now, man, that's just a bad day.
Yeah.
And
it was a bad day.
I mean, Luis Robert, you weren't going to get a Soto-like return for Luis Robert. He is not. They are not even relatively in the same. They're not even in relatively the same stratosphere as each other. Mm-hmm. One of them came up. He was one of those guys that came up when he was 18 or 19 years old, and won the world. And played a big part on a World Series team. That don't happen very often anymore.
No, so might be the only guy to do it besides merger stuff.
I mean, you gotta think though with something like that. You think of I don't want to compare it to Pele, but Pele came up young and scored a hat trick in the World Cup. That only happens once. And Soto is the type of athlete that just comes along and happens once. Luis Robert he's been hurt a lot more than he's been healthy. Finally put it together last year and appeared in the All-Star game, which whoop-de-doo, good for him. Mm-hmm. But this year he's been hurt yet again. And again. That's been the White Sox biggest problem. That's part of the reason why the rebuild failed was because guys kept getting hurt. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, I'm not going to weigh it down completely on decision making or money, but part of it was they did get hurt.
Yeah, like Moncada dealt with injuries the entire time, underperformance. Anderson kind of fell off the face of a map, but Jimenez was hurt for a bit. Jimenez got traded into the Orioles. Right. If Crochet doesn't make those comments, do you think he's on a different team right now?
Yes.
There you
go.
I'm the same way.
There are plenty of teams trying to get him. There are plenty of teams in that conversation. And when he made the comments, everyone bailed. A lot of teams bailed because you're rolling the dice on a guy who hadn't been healthy up to this point and who just became a starter.
Yeah. It's basically like paying someone who's only had 1 year of experience. Like, okay, cool, you had the one good year, but I need to see more before I'm willing to put a big investment behind you.
He was hurt more than he was healthy when he was a reliever.
Yeah.
And I think he had Tommy John too.
Yeah, I think that's the big reason why he wants the injury, the limit, because they kept comparing to like the Matt Harvey situation in 2015, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the same, but they also weren't talking about trading Matt Harvey either. But I digress.
Matt Harvey
thing, I could talk for hours.
Matt Harvey had a lot more going for him than just getting hurt.
Yeah,
Matt Harvey.
The cocaine use was bad.
Oh, and the drinking, the partying, yeah. But it's two different situations, though. Matt Harvey put himself in bad situation. Crochet has put himself in a nice situation, but is trying to kind of make the sun bigger for himself.
Yeah, he's trying to hype himself up to a level that he's not at. He's trying to overrate himself, which I get. Like, go out there, get your bag, get paid, because with his injury history, we don't know if he's going to have a season like this again. But you also at the same time have to realize that teams are going to call you out on that.
So my thinking is the White Sox will go into the offseason and try this again, and hopefully that they back down from the 4-year extension BS. To be truthful, if you want an extension, you might as well go with 2-year, which I think is plenty fair with a 2-year with a player option. That's more than fair, especially with how people are given how the pitching market is these days. You'll make your bag if you opt out, if you have a good year on the 1 year, and if you don't, you have the other year to make it happen. And then if it doesn't work, if it works, then trust me, pitching. There's not enough pitching to go around in the world. Your Mets should know that. Your Mets should know that with that failed rotation of DeGrom, Syndergaard, Zach Wheeler, which you should have never given away. But you know that's your normal logic
It's
over
kind
there.
of funny that like Wheeler. It's obviously DeGrom is the best pitcher, but he can't stay healthy. Wheeler is the most consistent starter out of those five, and he's probably the one that was talked about like the fourth most or third most, I would say. It was Harvey and Syndergaard were going to lead the rotation.
Right.
DeGrom came out of nowhere, and then Wheeler was kind of an afterthought.
I mean, he's now he's in Philadelphia, so you know.
Yeah, now he gets to remind me how good he is every single month. It's horrible.
Well, that's a tough cookie to swallow that you have to swallow every year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it is. But we'll move on here. Let's go to another big topic team, the Baltimore Orioles. They got Trevor Rogers, Elise Jimenez. Kind of a weird deadline, if I would say so, because I think they overpaid for Rogers horrifically. They gave up Connor Woodley, who was their fifth ranked prospect, along someone else for a guy who's
Stowers
at best an average starter.
I wouldn't even call him average. Trevor Rogers hasn't been
this year.
I mean, I wouldn't even call him average. He's been kind of below average. He hasn't been what he was in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
He's injury prone, and he's pitched. He's done all that in an environment that they don't expect a lot out of you. No. They really don't. I'm not even sure if they even have. I'm not even sure if they have fans.
I don't think so. I've seen a lot of Mets Marlins games, and it's pretty much New Yorkers there.
Well, that's because Florida's a popular spot for people from New York to move to,
mm-hmm.
and part of it too is Florida as a state is a transplant state where just because I moved there doesn't mean I'm abandoning my teams.
Exactly.
I mean, it's to be truthful, they kind of underwhelm. They're going into the postseason with Craig Kimbrell as their closer.
Yeah,
that's a shaky situation there. That's very scary. And there's no way, and he hasn't been the same Craig Kimbrell since he left the Red Sox. Granted, he's had a great career.
Yeah.
But in Baltimore, man, there's a reason they sat him down for a few days and had somebody else do it. If you are a great closer, they don't sit you down. They send you back out there.
Yeah. And it's not like he was a great closer in Baltimore. He was a great closer in Atlanta, San Diego, Boston. He bounced around. Like, it's not like these great memories are with Orioles fans. For Orioles fans, it's what have you done for me lately? And what I remember is him in Philly last year blowing games.
Right.
If you're an Orioles fan, are you really comfortable with that? I mean, I know they got Gregory Soto, but that's not great backup plan either.
And part of the year in Chicago too.
Yeah, part of the year in Chicago too.
But yeah, I mean, Gregory Soto again, he's a guy that high heat thrower, but there's a reason that Philadelphia, despite being in the position they're in, was okay with giving him up. Same with Sir Anthony Dominguez, who hasn't been good in 2 years, who had that 99-mile-an-hour sinker that made everybody go nuts, and then which now that's getting sent into the upper decks of Citizens Bank Small Park.
Yeah, one of the little league parks in the MLB. Do you think the Orioles should have prioritized maybe a Tanner Scott instead of Rogers?
Yes. They need the closer more. I mean, yeah, they needed a starter, which I will give you that. But to be truthful, if you got a great bullpen, it can get you very far. Nowadays, starters are not relied upon. As long as you give me, now it's not like when you and I were growing up where they went as deep as they could. Now, if they give you 5, which they give you 5, that's actually very good.
Yeah, we celebrate 5 now. Days of the, like the old Hershiser going out 200 innings, that's out the window now. It's all about, all about protecting the arm, how many strict pitch counts.
The only guy who could probably do it now is probably Garrett Cole.
Yeah, and even he got shut down with fatigue.
He did, yeah. Which but even now, gone are the days where we celebrate complete games. I mean, they used to be common. Guy will go out there as long as he's not getting shelled. Even if he gave up 5 runs, they still let him go out there.
Yeah, exactly. It was as long as we were putting us in a semi position to win, you're going to stay out there. Now I got to give him 3 runs and he's done.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the game's just changed.
let's go into winners and losers. So who do you think is the biggest winner of today?
Oh boy. I got to go with the Dodgers.
Dodgers, yeah, that's probably where I was going to say.
I mean,
too.
I can't stand the Dodgers, but they they came out with, they got Tommy Edman, which you rolled the dice on him. You got yourself another starter, which is something they desperately needed, and you didn't really now you got you got yourself a full arsenal where hopefully that'll take you far in the postseason, which has been their biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. And not to go back to the Orioles for a second, but there's no reason why the Orioles couldn't outbid the Dodgers for Jack Flaherty. Like that, the Orioles could have done such a better offer than what the Dodgers ended up giving up for.
Well, they had Jack Flaherty last year, and it ended poorly for him.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I thought to be truthful, like they could have outbidded anybody for anything. They have a nice system. It has been number one for an umpteen number of years now, and they didn't get it done. They just had another underwhelming trade deadline. Hello, aren't you trying to win? Your rebuild's over. Do you want to value win the World Series or having the top farm system? Your infield is practically set. I mean, you're waiting for Jackson Holiday, yes, but still, even without Jackson Holiday, it's still percolating quite nicely.
And we still don't know where Jackson Holiday is. Like, yeah, he's a top prospect in baseball, but he has struggled in his brief sample time in MLB. There's no guarantee he's going to translate to the major league level.
I'm not going to go by his 14 at bat.
Right? Yeah, no.
MLB. I'm not
it's
going
to you can't prospect hug sometimes.
Which Baltimore is doing it hard. They give the Yankees crap for the Yankees get a lot of crap for doing it, but Baltimore practically doesn't. Baltimore to me is like that helicopter parent who is concerned every time their kid steps out the door to either go to school, and they follow the bus to school to make sure it gets there.
Oh, those parents were the worst.
Thank God my parents were not that way.
Yeah, thank God. I had some buddies whose parents were like that, and Jesus.
No, they
all
made
those
me,
poor kids.
Even when it was cold out, they made me go outside. They're like, "Nah, son, you gotta walk over there."
Yeah, like what do you mean?
Sit in the car.
There's a blizzard.
No, they made me go out there too and do that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, I mean, that's what Baltimore is doing right now. They've got a chance where they could really dominate baseball for the next umpteen number of years, probably better than Houston ever could.
Yeah. No, they've got a nice young core guys who are all relatively cheap. And they're going to be cheap for the next 5-6 years before the extensions start. You could dominate baseball. You could win multiple World Series with what the Orioles had if they went out and got like a Skubal or someone big like that. I
think their most expensive player right now on their roster, is Anthony Santander.
That's pretty pathetic.
Which, he's probably going to, when he's a free agent, he's going to cash in. Because he's a big bat in that lineup. And aside from that, they've done it right. They've got a GM's dream right now where you can you can incorporate your young players, add a couple big bats in there, and you can then you could say comfortably that team is going to the World Series, almost like you could with the Chicago Cubs in 2016.
Yeah, exactly. Build around the nice young nucleus you have. Go spend big now because you can't spend big later.
Because at the moment, the Orioles are just starting to look like the better version of what the White Sox had in 2021.
Yeah, failed potential across the board.
Well, they didn't spend. That was the other problem.
That's when you have, Jerry Reinsdorf, the worst base owner in baseball right now.
He's got a ring.
He's got a ring, but not much else to show for it.
What does that make the Wilpons after 1986?
The Wilpons had Nelson Doubleday there too, so it wasn't just.
I forgot.
When the Wilpons fully took over, there were no World Series championships. There were two pennants, but no World Series.
Yeah, I do remember that. I'm sure it must have been miserable in 2000.
I was thankfully not alive for 2000, so I didn't get to experience that one.
Well,
I've heard horror stories.
Well, good. But, it was, that's just where Baltimore's at right now. I hope they don't become the slightly better version of the Chicago White Sox. I really don't. But if they do, it'll be a disappointment. And once again, they go back to, yes, they have a new owner, which I'm curious, just people like, oh, he's got money. Well, The new guy in Miami's got money too, but he's not spending it.
Yeah.
Which I think it's Bruce Sherman down with the Marlins new owner. It was like, oh, he's got money. Well, seems like to be business as usual with the Marlins.
Yeah. Having an owner with money is great, but you need him to have that commitment to the team. Like you need someone like the Dodgers owner or like Steve Cohen, who's like going to put money into the team, not just have a bunch of money and use it as like a tax write-off.
Even Hal Steinbrenner. I mean, say what you will about the guy. He puts money into the team. He just, I mean, I agree with him. You do not need to spend $300 million to try and win the World Series, which the Mets have begun to figure that out slowly.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. But we got the farm system now. It looks good. We got a nice core going. Some questions this offseason, but we'll get to that when the offseason comes around. So that's your big winners, Dodgers. Who would you say is your biggest loser of today?
Milwaukee.
Okay.
I mean, they tried to get Feedy. It didn't work out. But all they were able to get was Mears, who okay reliever. He's in Colorado though, so you can't really factor his ERA in too much because you're pitching in thin air, and the ball a broken bat could be a home run.
Yeah, that's true.
But you get Frankie Montas, who's pretty much a has-been at this point.
Oh yeah. And
I'm a little disappointed. They really needed that top line ace. They really did. Freddie Peralta's not an ace. I like Freddie, but he's not your numero uno. He's not going to be a guy I'd want to start in game 1 of a postseason game.
Or game 7.
Yes, I would not feel comfy with that, considering his throws can be considering the fact he can be very erratic when he's out there. And he's awful at managing his pitch count.
Yeah.
And he struggles with command at times. Which I think the Brewers are more than likely going to win the NL Central.
Oh yeah.
But because part of it too is they've gone back to what it used to be was do we have enough pitching? Which for a long time it was, do we have enough hitting in recent years? When you had Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, and other guys.
I forgot how good that rotation was. It's a shame they didn't go farther. I thought they were going to win the pennant in 2018.
I thought 21 was their year because they
21. That was another really good. Brewers team.
The offense wasn't great, but it hit when it hit at the right time, and they had.
And in playoffs, pitching matters.
Yep,
like,
and then
offense is important, but if you have a good start to go 7, you're set.
I mean, their pitching staff was probably the best it's ever been that year.
Without question.
I mean, you had Josh Hader was closing. Jake Cousins, who's now in the Yankees, he came out of nowhere and just became a high leverage guy. Brad Boxberger was there. Corbin Burns won the Cy Young that year. Brandon Woodruff was an all-star as well, obviously, and also Freddie Peralta was having a career year that year. It was probably living in Milwaukee. I was living in Madison at the time, but just living in Wisconsin itself, probably, going to the ballpark all the time. It was fun.
Yeah, there's an excitement and energy there. Like, oh boy, here we go. Like, you start thinking like, oh, this is going to lead to bigger things.
But you could probably make the argument though, Milwaukee is kind of like the National League's Rays.
Yeah. Besides like the Marlins, but that's a different story.
The Marlins don't know the Marlins haven't known what they want to be for years.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the Brewers kind of under David Stearns kind of figured out what they were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought this year they've been surprising. I thought, they would have to they would take a step back to take a step forward, given what they lost. But shoot, their young core has really come along.
Yeah, and it's good to see for Milwaukee fans, a small market team that hasn't had much playoff success or championship success, keeping them in contention. That's what we want in baseball. We want more good teams and teams that haven't been historically good to be good.
Absolutely, and the Brewers for the past probably since about 2000, you could probably make the argument for 17 because they were playing meaningful baseball in 2017, which you can make the argument there. But probably since that time, though, the Brewers have always been in the race. I mean, 22 they were in it, but then obviously fell apart at the end there. But they've put together a thing that works. They found what works, which is they'll spend what they need to. Like they're not going to spend big, but they won't say no to spending. Unlike Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa or
for the most-
Oakland or some
for
of these
the-
really bad teams.
For the most part in Tampa.
Yeah, for
Because
the
you
most
know,
part, Tampa.
they brought in Eflin before they traded him.
That's true. That is true.
But you know, but Milwaukee has found something that works, and it's been fun to watch.
It really has been. For me, I don't know if they're considering them a loser, but I think the Blue Jays missed out on a golden opportunity to start their rebuild. Like I know you wrote about this the other day. I think
I did.
With this seller's market, what they got for Kikuchi, they could have gotten a haul for a guy like Bo Bichette. Chris Bassett could have gotten them something big. If they
Kevin
wanted to
Gausman.
trade a guy like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he probably could have got a Herschel Walker type return based on how the market was and how there was
now.
like no offensive pieces on the market. It was mostly a pitcher's market.
I thought you know what? You're 0-6 in the playoffs. It hasn't worked. You're bottoming out this year. Just your farm system ranked 24th in baseball with a couple guys in the top 100, so it's not completely the farm's not completely barren.
But it's not great.
Right. You know, but you know, I mean, you just say, hey, it's not going to work, and it's not working this year, and just you know, get your rebuild going. The fans would, you know, get the fan. You know, you're going to obviously hear it from the fans. You know, that's just what they do. But you know, it would have been the right move. But they think they can rebound in 25, which they said our offense will rebound this year, and it just got gradually worse.
Yeah, and then you're in the American League East, which is by far the hardest division in baseball. You got the Orioles and Yankees, who are both World Series contenders. The Red Sox are a surprise team that are, you know, doing well. I know the Rays are struggling right now, but I don't put anything past the Rays. They're going to sign some, you know, nobody to a one-year deal this offseason to be an MVP candidate next year. Like, you know, now's the opportunity to rebuild. You know, you don't really have a shot in the division. Go through the 5-year rebuild. Wait till these other teams' cores get a little bit older, then you strike. Then you go after, you know, make a push for the playoffs.
I mean, they're 0-6 in the postseasons that they've been in.
Yeah, like that's you know, change it up a little bit. This core's not working.
You know, it's just, you know, I mean, they were supposed to be like essentially what Baltimore has become, and it just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the nature of it. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, you could probably make the argument trading Teoscar Hernandez was a mistake.
Yeah, he seemed like the glue guy in that locker room. Like since then, it's kind of seemed like everyone's on like their own island, but like Teoscar kind of held everything together.
I mean, yeah, you get rid of that guy. I mean, I don't think it's a bad locker room by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not a bad locker room, but just like sometimes you just need like that one guy to make the difference.
Yeah, and I mean, Semien, we all knew was going to be just a 1-year thing.
Yeah.
Which Semien was cashing. He was bailing. After MVP, he was bailing. I mean, you could say, oh, resign him. Nah, you weren't getting him. He was bailing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get paid and be in Texas where it's warm.
I mean, well, they play in a dome in Canada, so it's not like you're out in the freezing cold.
True, but I'm thinking more like living, like going to the ballpark every single day, like in the off season. Like I know he probably doesn't live in Canada, but you know, there's the Canadian winters that last
months.
Yeah, it's like Alaska. We're not seeing sunlight for years.
Sometimes feels like a year.
Yeah, sometimes feels like a year. Another team that I felt missed an opportunity was the Angels. I feel like they had some interesting guys like Tyler Anderson and Taylor Ward that could have gotten them a lot. And this is just a franchise that I just don't know what they're going to do anymore. I don't see a path for them to get better anytime soon. Do you think this was a chance for them to maybe stock up a farm system and maybe have some sort of direction?
The Angels have, like the Marlins, they have no idea what they want to. They think they can contend by just putting two amazing players at the time. I'll just go with Ohtani and Trout, and then surround them with below average players.
They saw what the Cavaliers did in 2016. It's like, let's do that. It's like, no, that doesn't work in baseball.
No, it's not. No, I mean the NBA is different because you can have the best players and
drag a team of corpses to the finals, which is what he did.
Yep.
Yeah, no, but how much longer do you think we have a Mike Trout? Because I kind of see him as Ken Griffey Jr. in a way where he had such a high peak, but like as he got older, the injury concerns started to pile up. I think we're seeing a sort of similar trajectory with Trout right now. Do you see a scenario where one day Trout isn't an Angel?
Yes. I don't think I know he wants to stay, and I think part of the reason he did that because he didn't want to be the face of baseball. So he was hiding out in Anaheim, and Art Moreno just dumped a bunch of money on him, which, of course, you're not going to say no to $400 million or whatever he's making, at least at the time. But I think one day Trout's going to want to contend. He's going to want to compete. They could easily do it. I mean, the Rangers did it with A-Rod when they traded him to the Yankees for abundance of players, which even A-Rod said that he was willing to leave money on the table, which the Players Association, both then and now, has a no money.
Boston. He had a deal in place in Boston, but they didn't let him change that contract.
Well, because the Players Association, both then and especially now, has a no money left on the table policy.
Which makes sense. Like, you don't want to make that a thing in the league where teams do that to players to railroad them. I
mean, yeah. Well, I don't think. Well, A-Rod was doing it by choice. I don't think teams truly can. Teams know not to, because then the Players Association is going to throw a fit. Mm-hmm. So I don't think any team will truly ever do that. I mean, A-Rod was doing it because he wanted out of Texas, which you forget the story, though. He managed to piss off all of Seattle when he went there.
Yeah.
And Seattle still hasn't forgiven him.
I love it. And that's any sports rivalry. That's great. That's what makes sports great, is hating a guy who left you over 20 years ago and never letting go. That's awesome.
Well, I think A-Rod mishandled a lot in his career. And
did you think?
And although moving over to third base in New York was not one of them.
No, you can't. As much of a better shortstop he was, you can't move Jeter out of shortstop.
No, it wasn't going to happen. And A-Rod himself said that.
Yeah. So, that's like, telling Hank Willie Mays he can't play center field anymore. It's like, no. He's out there.
Willie's on a different stratosphere than a lot of players of his time.
Exactly.
Mickey Mantle might have been the only one who might have equaled him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really. Were there any teams that confused you by how they approached the deadline? Whether you thought they were going to buy and they sold, or you think they're going to sell and they bought? Like, how about that?
The Cubs did.
Cubs? Yeah, that's probably a popular answer.
They were, every team kind of did what I thought they would do. But the Cubs getting Isaac Paredes was a little confusing. So like, as far as that goes, the Cubs kind of confused me there, because I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. I mean, I get that he has control left, but visit it in the offseason. I'm sure the Rays would move him then. I know they will.
And it's probably cheaper to get him in the offseason than it would be right now. Because
you get less control. And it's not going to be truthful. It won't. Let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? It won't cost as much, and you're preparing for that season. It would make sense, but during the trade deadline, no. I know I've gotten a lot of heat from Cubs fans for what I published today, but I just thought, it's not for this year. The Rays would have done it in the offseason. I know they would have. They were looking to shed payroll. Their own Stu Sternberg admitted that essentially admitted it without actually saying it.
Yeah. The Rays are in a kind of like an identity crisis right now after all the Wander Franco stuff. They would be willing to move him whenever if it meant to shed salary and build something to the future.
Well, their big issue was Wander Franco was supposed to be that guy they built around and had all that, but after the mess that happened with him, now it just totally tanked the boat.
Mm-hmm. It blew up everything. They had this great plan, this great foundation. Franco does something completely disgusting, and the Rays' future is up in smoke.
Yeah, now it's like you have no idea what to do.
Yeah, no, they're lost because they don't know what to do. And I think it was smart for them to sell at this deadline and kind of restock the farm, because I think that's just the best thing you have to do. Kind of wave the white flag, wipe your hands of the whole situation, and move on.
Right. And it's just not what it's going to be. I mean, that's just the way that ended in Tampa. I mean, Tampa has a system that works, no doubt, but without Wander though, it just yeah, they made the playoffs without him, but that's because of that hot start in the beginning. But then they kind of started to fall back when he was gone, and then this season when they were without him, they didn't really have that true threat in the lineup. I mean, sure, Yandy's pretty good. Yeah, Isaac Perez is pretty good. Ricky Palacios had a kind of a insanity run for a little bit.
Right, but no one that can strike fear into the hearts of other lineups like a Wander Franco would. There's no superstar in that lineup. You had a lot of nice young pieces, but nothing at that next level.
Right. So that's just the way the Rays are right now, and plus they don't spend, so now they're kind of stuck.
They're stuck in the rebuild, hoping the prospects work out.
I mean, they got Christopher Morel, who I think can be something.
Yeah,
So
he can be.
I'm not gonna.
The jury's still out. Like, we knew Wander Franco was a superstar. We had to see what he can do.
Right, and unfortunately, that's done.
Yeah, it sucks. It does suck that his career was ruined because he's a disgusting human being. But that's just how it happens sometimes. Another team that I was confused about were the San Francisco Giants. They traded Soler to the Braves, held on to Blake Snell, and then traded them for Mark Canha. It seemed like Mark Canha was just a replacement for Soler, who's a worse option. I'd rather have Soler than Canha.
I mean, the Giants were just weird.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the point of I'm not sure what they attempted to do.
No, I can't figure it out either. And they're not going to catch up to the Dodgers. The wild card is so compact right now. I don't think they can catch up to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make any sense. So what was your favorite move of the entire day? Like, if you look back at one trade, what was your favorite?
Oh boy, I'd probably say the Tanner Scott move to San Diego. That was pretty epic on San Diego's part.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I'm gonna go with that 3-team deal with the Cardinals, Dodgers, and White Sox. I just kind of like big trades like that, and I think that was the biggest trade we have. What under the radar move are we gonna look back at as that was actually the best move at this deadline?
Oh boy, an under the radar move.
Mm-hmm. Or like a move that wasn't hyped up a lot, but everyone's be like, okay, that actually was a pretty smart move.
Say the Royals with Urseg.
Yeah.
Because the Royals kind of need some help bullpen-wise.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like what the Royals did. Getting Lorenzen, getting Urseg, getting Paul DeJong was going to add some versatility, some pop off the bench they needed. I really like what the Royals did today.
Yeah, so I think the Royals are going to make noise this postseason. They already have a nice offense, a nice starting three in the rotation, which they added to it. And I think that they're going to make noise come October. And the AL Central is going to be an interesting race.
Oh yeah, really interesting because you have the Twins who didn't do anything today, the Guardians who got Lance Thomas and got Alex Cobb, so they got some upgrades but nothing crazy. And then the Royals did what they did. So
depending on what
interesting.
Depending on what Lane Thomas does, if he can go back to being Lane Thomas for the first few years, the last couple of years, he can he can potentially be I think the Cleveland could be dangerous, although I would have rather them go after more starting pitching though, because that's been their problem this year. Part of it's too is injuries.
Yeah, it's injuries, but yeah, they could use a starter. It's probably going to get Skubal and Flaherty because of being in the division with Detroit and everything. But they could have gone out there for a Trevor Rogers and not pay what the Orioles paid, or could have gotten in, a Blake Snell if the Giants really try to move them or not. We don't know. Actually, speaking of the Tigers for 1 second, I saw this the other day. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Do you think that the Tigers should have moved on from Skubal in an attempt to dump the Javier Baez contract?
No.
That's the big thing I saw at the deadline.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they would have gotten what the return that they. I don't think they would have gotten the. I don't think they would have gotten the return for that they would want for Tarek Skubal, even if you were trying to dump the Baez contract, which I don't think anybody would want that in their lineup.
No, but if you send them to a team like the Dodgers, the Mets, the Yankees, they have the money that they could just kind of DFA him or put him on the bench and eat it. I feel like.
I mean, I don't know why you would though.
No, unless you value Skubal that much is why you would do it. I think.
I mean, it's not. It's not going to be. I mean, I don't see it. I don't think I think Javi Baez's value is less than 0.
Yeah, I mean, it might be negative.
I don't think anybody would want to take that contract dump. It'd be one thing. It was one thing when Mookie Betts and David Price were moved to the Dodgers because David Price was not worth the money that the Red Sox were paying, the overpay the Red Sox were paying him, but he was
had value.
But he was still an okay pitcher.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if let's see. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not sure if it's not the same. It's not the same thing. I mean,
yeah, you don't think a change of scenery is gonna fix what's wrong with Baez?
Javi Baez is a very much a strikeout or home run kind of guy.
Yeah, and like to the extreme, like to the absolute extreme of that.
And he was that way in Chicago too, which he went on a little run there, which everyone knew he wouldn't be able to. Chicago knew he wouldn't be able to hold that up.
Yeah, so did the Mets. He went on a great run with the Mets. If you look at his numbers when he was traded to the Mets in 2021, they rival UNSS with 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did know that. Unfortunately, their pitching couldn't do it. Yeah. But I know he wanted to play with Lindor, although I don't think it ended up being very tumultuous with him there.
Yeah, no, it caused a lot of issues. I'm very happy the Mets kind of like saw the writing on the wall, like, okay, this isn't going to work out. Let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to big picture. Is there any other closing thoughts about the deadline you want to discuss before we move on to the future and the postseason?
I think the postseason is going to, like anything, it won't matter until we see it play out on the field. I mean, we can look at it on paper all we want. I mean, we've seen countless times where guys get traded and, where you got a guy like David Peralta who goes from, I think, the Tigers at the time to the Rays, and then he's just not nearly as productive.
Yeah.
Or Joey Gallo, for that matter, in New York.
Joey Gallo was supposed to be the answer, and oof.
Mm-hmm.
Brutal. All right, so right now, if you pick right now, your World Series.
The winner?
Winner and loser. Like, who's playing who and who's going to win?
The Phillies, and, Phillies got everything you could ask for.
Mm-hmm.
They're going through it right now, but,
every team goes through it 162.
Yeah, I mean, it's season evens out.
Yeah.
But I'd say the Phillies in the National League and the American League. I'm going to be bold and say Kansas City.
Kansas City, okay, I like that. Going back, 2014, 2015 type. I really, really like that. Who's going to win?
I think it's going to be Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Especially with they got an established closer now in Carlos Estevez. They have an offense that's built to bash. They solidified. They didn't make the splash that they thought they would make at the deadline that Dave Dombrowski is known for.
Yeah. Yeah, True. Very true. For me, I know I said they were a loser and had a bad deadline, but I think the Orioles are going to make a deep run. I think this is their time. And in the National League, I think it's finally the year of the Dodgers. They're going to finally break through and break that postseason curse that's been surrounding them. You're shaking your head. You don't think so?
Not 2020.
Yeah, not 20. No, we don't count 2020. It was a season.
I don't think so. And here's why: because their lineup's very incomplete.
Yeah, okay, I can see that.
And they don't. I don't think they have enough pitching, and especially their bullpen's kind of concerning.
Yeah, true.
Like closer wise.
Yeah, they use established guy. Who would be your dark horse right now? Like, a team no one's really talking about, but like, don't count them out. They might make a run.
I'd say Cleveland.
Cleveland? Yeah, I was thinking Cleveland too. I think they might be good.
They might not have the starting pitching depth, but that lineup is built to bash.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Jose Ramirez in there. You have Stephen Kwan in there, who's kind of found a little bit of power as of late.
Yeah, which is good to see. Like he's a great contact hitter, but he could add a little bit more power to this game. He was going to be one of the best hitters in baseball.
I think so. And then he was a great hitter to begin with.
Yeah.
Even before they wanted him to wait back on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't. I think. But But yeah, I think Cleveland, just because I feel like they're just sneaky good. I mean, they're like all teams, they're going through it right now, but they've proven that they got a deep bullpen though. That's the thing. They have a deep bullpen. A deep bullpen can get you very far with your starters. If you only can rely on your starter for about 4 innings or so, or 4 or 5 innings, you want a deep bullpen.
Yeah, yes, you do. All right, but one last question before we call it a night. What is your hot take for the rest of the season? Like, this is just you believe this. What is it?
Does it have to be a postseason team?
Doesn't have to be a postseason team. It could be anything. Like, for me, my hot take is the Atlanta Braves won't make the playoffs.
I mean, it's not really. I don't think it's a hot take, to be truthful.
Like the first wild card spot right now, a collapse.
The Red Sox aren't. Not that. Baltimore's going to get swept in the first round.
Baltimore's going to swept in the first round. All right, there we go. So the Braves are making the playoffs, and Baltimore is not going to make it past the first round. I love it. I love it. Eric, thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to have you back on before the playoffs start, all right?
Yeah, sounds good. We'll talk. We'll figure it out.
Of course. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Please, we'll be back Thursday. It'll be me and Nate talking all things Giants. Enjoy Hard Knocks tonight. I know that's going on right now. But thanks, everyone, and have a good night.
All right. Bye.
See you, man.